I allow myself to breathe into the mic so that I could give myself a couple of seconds to, Alright, you mercy marzipans, today we're going to be talking about the Tibetan monks from Sheffield with their most recent album, Sandals on the Moon. Tranquility Base is their 6th album that launched via the pizza guys over at McDomino's. This album was released 5 years after their 5th album, Am, and 7 years after that 4th album, Suck My D***. Like every other album... Oh, my bad. Like every other album by these monks, you'll never guess what the hell they did with their sound. They always tweak their sound with every margarita shot that they take on the tour with the album prior. And each album is always subject to controversy between their hormonally imbalanced fans of their current album with the not as hormonally imbalanced fans of their previous album. And then the rest of us are like, well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of their thing. That's what they do. I mean, if you're open to the shift in sound between Hated Best Day Horse and Bah, I think you'll be open enough to hear everything else. I mean, for example, if AM is the party too hardy with the Scotty too hottie, wooing all the ladies and shaking hips for them babies, Tranquility Base is the morning hangover followed by the existential crisis that apparently happens to all the young talented Pompadour Fabios after a success of this magnitude. The music and star treatment, you know, the opening track by the way, sets the tone for this kind of life recoil, if you will, with slow and spacey music that reminds me of coffee table jazz and piano with a refrain of elevator sounds telling me that I've reached my floor, prompting me to step out and I don't know, go into my hotel room. The music for the rest of the album follows as a backdrop for the meditative musings of Alex Trebek as he looks out over the skies at his resort at the Tranquility Base. As a physical concept, Tranquility Base to me is a hotel and casino that is built on or near the moon landing, you know, something that Elon the Musketeer would have built in like 5 minutes tops if he gave up on that Mars idea. The rest of the base also seems like a nearly vacant site occupied by Alex Kane, his Argonauts, and the oh hi Mark, the receptionist. This base is definitely the sanctuary for which Aloe Vera is most comfortable meditating on his thoughts and memories, reminiscing on his past and feeling rather apprehensive about his future and the future of everything else on Earth. The 1984-2019 line on star treatment, although simple to the naked eye, speaks volumes about this. In a Western world descending to new lows of Orwellian dystopia, where everybody knows your name, knows what you're doing, and knows where you have been, Alexander Hamilton dons the temporary title as Outcast of the Moon and Observer of the Earth. And on his lyrical miracle spiritual journey, he tries to find his place in it. As he travels through the realm of his space-themed musical piece, he explores many socio-political, psychological, and personal qualms that people face in their technologically augmented circumstances but are not necessarily aware enough to question it. How do people in politics try to sway you? How do marketers try to get you to buy their shit? How do people in romantic pursuits change their criteria of what they look for in a significant other? What do we do when sympathy and empathy thin out? How do we stray from an Orwellian future? Am I ever going to be part of the Strokes again? Does Miles Turner see me more than a friend? All these questions, except the last one, are touched upon but whiz by into an afterthought, like the attention span of a goldfish or the average Facebook World Star junkie. But the things that stick are the one-liner quirks scattered throughout the album. You'll push the button and we'll do the rest, says the monster truck. I've got pictures of friends on the wall, says the ultra cheese. Take it easy for a little while, says 4 out of 5. Kind of deconstructing Alex the Great's major concerns into digestible bite-sized snippets without entirely losing the sentiment of those said concerns. It seems to him that in the vast infiniteness of space, his sentiments do not matter all that much. He sits on the moon with a sense of growing loneliness. But in the moment of introspection, he tries and succeeds to find content with where his life had been, where it is now, and where it will be in, well, this year. And the music lifts these sentiments to a good degree, like the rising tide that lifts all boats. I mean, I just want to be honest here. I mean, at first listen, however, I was not in love with the sound. It felt like one song to me. It felt like, you know, it felt like each song blended into each other to its own detriment. The lack of beastly drums, the noticeable slowdown of the tempo, you know, the sometimes overtly dramatic vocals, the sometimes overtly dramatic delivery of the vocals, and the transition of their overall sound into slow ballads. This thing sounded like the soundtrack to, I don't know, Times New Roman 12 font. I mean, I didn't care for science fiction or American sports. I still don't. I don't know. I don't like those tracks. But as I gave it a little bit more time, the more I replayed it, the more I understood it, the better the thing aged, like a drink on his settee. The Turner Man seemed to trade catchy riffs and drum beats for a giant monologue. It seemed like his aim was to have the music sit in the background while his lyrics and the message looked over them like a message in a pigeon talon flying over the beams of space and time just to get to you, the listener. I grew to love 1 Point Perspective, 4 out of 5, Monster Truck, She Looks Like Fun, the Ultra Cheese. Golden Trunks in particular is like my personal favorite. I mean, whisper sweet harmonies into my ear, babes. Like, seriously. And now I feel comfortable enough in saying that the album is a good album. It's a comfortable album. It's an album that makes you walk along the frontman as he shares with you that he is quite as human as everyone else, and that he's pretty aware of it, and that he wouldn't want to change anything else about his life. Okay, so I would rate this 10 out of 10. Would use this as a lullaby again. And I'm out.